From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and it is time for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. We had an eventful night last night in the NFC West. We were able to see that the 49ers ain't dead yet. They went ahead and got themselves a 31-10 victory last night over the Rams, who could have took over first place last night, but wound up losing that game 31-10. And the OBJ debut did not go as well as the media and the Rams expected it to. But I don't think the Rams put too much into it. They knew that it was his first game with them, so he would have to be able to step in and, do some things. But he did all right last night. He got 2 catches, 18 yards, pretty much the same stats he was getting in Cleveland. So, it wasn't like it was an off night or anything for him. As it's been lately, it's the regular OBJ night, a whole lot of hype and a little bit of substance that goes behind it. So it is what it is. But as I said before, it was his first game with the team. They are starting to get to know each other a little bit better. And they threw the guy in on 3 days, pretty much just signed with the team and everything like that. But that wasn't the story in this game. The story in this game was the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers last night went right back to their bread and butter, and that was the running game, and they were able to get some very, very good work out of Mr. Mitchell last night, who was able to go for 91 yards, ran for on 27 attempts last night. Shanahan said he wanted to run the ball 40 times. That's exactly what he did last night and wound up getting his team right where they needed to be. And they had 156 yards rushing. So that was literally exactly how, he wants to go ahead and play these games and everything like that. Now, when it came down to the passing game last night, they did pretty well. They went ahead and had 182 yards through the air last night with Jimmy G. Jimmy G was able to throw for 2 touchdowns as well, too. So that worked out very well. They jumped out to a big lead in the first half, 21-7. Didn't look back and then took care of their business in the second half. They throttled a few comebacks by the Rams as well, too. So much kudos to the 49ers last night. Big moments for Nick Bosa last night in that game. Also, Arden Key was pretty good in that game last night as well, too. So they had their big-time players show up in that game last night. And, that's pretty much the San Francisco 49er team that we all expected to be here this season, but it is what it is at the end of the day. Injuries have been a very, very crucial part to why their season has not went the way that most assumed it was going to go. But we are now here in the second half of the season, and we have a wide open 7 spot, to be honest with you. It's going to be a different team in that 7 spot every single week until the end of the season. This week now it's on Carolina, but next week it could be another team. But right now, they still have a big shot because I'm going to get into that in just a month. I'm going to get into that to my next subject when I talk about the playoff picture. They have a big shot because they're not that far apart from any of the teams. You have to understand that the NFC's actually has their whole bottom half that's not in the playoffs eligible to make the playoffs. Everybody has 3 wins or better in that group. So that's how pretty much everybody's in the race to get to that final seed as well too. But the first 6 teams, they're absolutely in good shape. Seriously. So let's go ahead and get into that. But the Rams, all in all, this is what I'm going to say about the Rams. The Rams get a bye this week, and that is actually right on time. People have to understand We're now in this was the 10th week of the season that just finished up. So you have a Rams team. Yeah, they looked pretty bad the last 2 weeks in a row. But before that, they looked absolutely Super Bowl. And they only had one blemish in that time as well, too, a tough game against Arizona. So people have to understand that they just need a break. That's all they need. They just need to refresh. Guys need to get some rest, and you can see a little bit of the fatigue on guys like Cooper Kupp. That's why he was dropping passes yesterday. And then Van Jefferson is a little banged up. He needs a week off as well too. And it's just that simple. And Stafford needs to go look at the tape, make some adjustments, and I think the Rams should be back into the driver's seat of a playoff spot once they get back. Because with the Rams, it's not really you want to win the division championship, but the Rams have already pretty much secured themselves to be in the playoffs this year. It looks like at this moment. So we'll see how it goes and see how it shakes out. So, pretty much we got a long season ahead of us. We got week 11 coming up, and we have 8 more weeks after that as well too. So you guys just buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. So we move on to the NFL playoff picture. And when I look at the NFL playoff picture, you have a team in the Cardinals who are feeling themselves immensely, even though they've dropped their last 2 out of 3 games as well too. But still, this team is 8-2 right now. They are sitting pretty in the 2 seed right now, and their quarterback, one of the MVP candidate, has been off the last 2 weeks as well too. But losing those last 2 out of 3 games has been a little crucial. But they got off to a great start this season. But yesterday, though, was a big concern for me, because if Kyler doesn't play, if D-Hop doesn't play, this team's in a lot of trouble. And you saw what happened yesterday. They pulled out Colt McCoy, threw in a guy that literally had no clue he would ever take a snap in an NFL regular season game, let alone the third quarter of a blowout. And he goes ahead and, pretty much was all right, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be a great replacement for Kyler. But, Green Bay was the controversial team of the week. Well, they had the controversial player of the week. I like it because I think that's what we have now in the NFL. You got to have the player of the week and the controversial player of the week. And the controversial player of the week was Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers wound up coming back and leading his team to a big victory over the Seattle Seahawks, who were primed to come in and get a big upset because they had just activated Russell Wilson, who had been off for a few weeks because of the finger. And Green Bay went ahead and took care of the business and actually shut out Seattle. So Green Bay right now might not just be the best team in the NFC. They may be the best team in the NFL, because we know first game of the season, everybody was like, I don't know about this team. They gave 38 points, only scored 3. Everybody felt Aaron Rodgers was getting a little bit too long in the tooth, and it probably age is caught up, or probably he just doesn't care anymore, and he might want to sabotage the Packers. But we West Coast guys, we don't operate like that. So pretty much Aaron Rodgers had a bad week, and you know what? That was his preseason week. You know what I mean? That was his free week, because he came back the next week and the next 7 weeks and was able to get his team big wins in each and every one of those games. And then comes back around, you lose, you get a bad loss. When your team doesn't have your team only lost that game by 6 points. Only reason why they lost was because they had a quarterback making his first ever start. And, pretty much the nerves came into play and things happened. You know what I mean? And right now the Chiefs are quietly hot again. You know what I mean? They're not hot like in a fashion where they're the biggest story and have the most highlights on Sports Center, but they've worked themselves back into the number 1 spot in the AFC West. They spotted everybody 5 weeks. So pretty much they spotted everybody actually 9 weeks. So pretty much, now Kansas City's back behind the 8 ball, ready to roll in the division. They're 6-4 right now, but you have 2 teams ahead of them that are 6-3. Then New England is also 6-4 right now as well too. And then surprise, but I'm not surprised at all, because I told you guys this team was capable of being the best offense in all of football if everything worked itself out. And that's going to be the Tennessee Titans. Yes, they don't have Derrick Henry right now, but they still have two elite wide receivers out there in AJ Brown and Julio Jones. So Tennessee is playing some pretty good football, and you got to understand Mike Variable, I mean, is a winner through and through since his days as a Buckeye. He's just been a constant winner, and he just preaches winning football. So I'm not surprised where the Titans are at right now, but I do see the Titans kind of having a little bit of some issues going through the next few weeks as the competition gets better. But as the competition gets better, they step their game up as well too. But I think that without Derrick Henry, you're going to have some lapses in this situation. Now, I look at Baltimore. Baltimore is sitting pretty right now, but Baltimore is probably in the most difficult situation as well too. You have a Steelers team that just tied up with the Lions, so they couldn't take over first place, and now they're sitting, but they're sitting clearly in second place now. You have Cincinnati, who already lost to Cleveland. They're 5-4, and Cleveland, just because of how the numbers work, go back to a place they are very familiar with. They still got pictures on the wall. That's the basement of the AFC North, but they're not a basement dweller. They're just they're just visiting their old home, because right now they're 5-5 and they have Detroit coming up next week. So I really do feel like they'll be back in the mix a little bit higher on this list. And then you have the Raiders, who were that were able to hold down the AFC West for about 15 minutes and pretty much find themselves on the outside looking in, but the first team out, though. That means that, so pretty much they are competing with the Chargers, but they're running into their situation where they play Cincinnati this week as well too. So Cincinnati comes into this game, can move some numbers and put themselves in position to be that team on the outside looking in. And then, when you look at the AFC, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5-win teams in this conference right now. This is very identical to last season. You got 4 6-win teams and 1 8-win team. So pretty much the competition is much tougher in the AFC, but it seems like things are more concrete in the NFC. When I look at the NFC, you got Dallas 7-2. They'll probably wind up being the second seed at the end of, if they continue their dominant play, because at the end of the day, Cowboys do have a pretty easy schedule as well too. You know what I mean? So nobody's really saying that, because the thing is, the NFC East, come on, dude. And then they have them lined up against the NFC South is a little difficult, but when you look at who they got them lined up on the other side of it, they should be able to split 50-50 on those games with the AFC West as well too. So we'll see how it goes, see how it shakes out. But the Cowboys are sitting pretty right now. I know that Jerry Jones is loving every minute of this right now as well too, because now he can really sit up there and be like, hey, my boys are back to try to take over the game. So it is what it is at the end of the day. But I look at this on the teams on the outside looking in. As I said before, Carolina's 5-5. You have New Orleans 5-4. And as I said before, the Rams are 7-3. So if we started the playoffs today, the Buccaneers would be hosting the Rams in Tampa. So, man, the Rams really kind of want to find it. The Rams have to find a way to win this division, even though they only have to worry about catching Arizona, which might not be that difficult. I still say to myself that San Francisco could be in for a big run. Same thing goes for Seattle as well too, because the second half of the season is going to be much different from the first half of the season. The contenders become pretenders, and the teams and pretenders become contenders. It's just that simple. So, first half is a lot different from the second half of the season. And then you can see teams fall apart here in the second half of the season, where they started off the season 6-3 and then wind up finishing up the season, 9-6 or something like that, or 9-8, and just things didn't work out for you in the second half of the year. But when I look at the group that's on the outside looking in, though, I say to myself, you got Minnesota 4-5, got a great win against the Chargers last week. You got San Francisco 4-5, got a great win against the Rams last night. You got Atlanta, who could have been still in the driver's seat right now, could have been 5-4, had themselves in a good shape, probably could have jumped ahead of New Orleans, but they blew it yesterday against Dallas. And then Washington, I would say this, Washington's a team that it all depends on the quarterback, but losing Chase Young pretty much, I think, has ended their season, to be honest with you. Chase Young is too vital of a player on that defensive side for us to really feel like Heineke can take them all the way to the playoffs, with that offense the way that is structured. Even though they got a big win over Tampa Bay, I think that Washington won their Super Bowl yesterday, and they will not be a team that we have to worry about, messing anything up, you know what I mean, unless it's against the Cowboys. So we'll see how it goes. And the Giants, they've been done, in my opinion. And I think Seattle has a good shot of catching up, even though they are the third to last team in the conference right now. They haven't seen anything like this since like the mid 90s, to be honest with you. Seattle has been that good over the last 25 years. You know what I mean? Maybe not winning a lot of Super Bowls or anything, but they haven't been a consistent loser. And this is just crazy seeing a record like that, seeing them with a record like this at this point in the season. Just is like you think that, all right, they're just getting themselves prepared for the draft. And then I see Chicago. I know Chicago is a team that will not be ready until next year, even though they are putting the strides together. All in all, they're going to be bringing in a brand new head coach and might be bringing in a brand new general manager as well too. And I think that drafting in the top 5, top 10 will be very beneficial for Justin Fields moving forward, because then now you can bring him a playmaker, because that's what position is going crazy in college this year. It's not about the quarterbacks this year in college. It's more about the position players who have been having some incredible seasons. So we'll see how it goes, see how it checks out and everything. But all in all, the playoff picture brings a lot of parity, a lot of fun, and I can't wait, man. It's gonna be lit. And then when you look at the bottom three in the AFC, you just know that none of these teams are going to make anything. And Miami is one of the bigger disappointments. They've won 2 in a row, but come on, we all know that Miami pretty much shot themselves in the foot too early in the season to keep up with the very tough AFC. But all 4 of these teams at the bottom can play monster spoilers here in the second half of the year. And that's this week's playoff picture review. And we'll be talking a little bit more about it on the show Thursday as well too, the NFL Bet Exchange. And I'll be back next week talking about it as well too, after we see what happens in week 11. So let's go ahead and get into state of the Lakers real quick. And I'm not going to be too long with this because frustration really set in last night with the Lake show. But I've been talking frustrated about the Lakers for a while. At this point in time, I just think that I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but I think change gonna have to come very, very soon. Or we're gonna have to figure out a way for Frank Vogel to start standing up as the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers and doing what he was hired to do. LeBron James was brought in to bring the Lakers championships as a basketball player on the floor, not as a player coach. And I feel like since he's been hurt, that Frank Vogel's literally has to check with LeBron about what he can say to the team. And I don't think that's fair to the coach, because he was hired to coach the team. He wasn't hired to be LeBron James' assistant coach. And I know a lot of you guys feel like, that's the way it has to be, because you guys are so enthralled with the way that he's ran these teams and everything like that. But at the end of the day, the Lakers didn't need your help. The Cleveland Cavaliers are a mediocre franchise. Let's just be honest about that. You know what I mean? A lot of love for the city of Cleveland. I got a lot of family there, a lot of roots, everything like that. Love the city. But we all know, all in all, who runs that city, and that's going to be the Browns, okay? And the Cavaliers have always been the third wheel. You know what I mean? Because they're not going to top out the Indians either. So, pretty much you got LeBron James to give the Cavaliers a good 15 years of coverage. You know what I mean? And I think that pretty much they've rebuilt pretty well with him gone the last 4 years, bringing in Evan Mobley. They were able to luck up and get him, but they also were able to get Darius Garland, and also were able to get Colin Sexton. And they messed up with Michael Porter Jr., but still they had him. So they've been able to replace that with a good core. Miami, on the other end, they've been able to survive LeBron as well too. They brought in Jimmy Butler. They brought in Kyle Lowry. They played the Lakers in the NBA Finals with a whole bunch of draft picks that they made over the years that have been able to help that team out. Now, last night, the Lakers played against the Chicago Bulls. Alex Caruso was a late add-on for a summer league team with a very small chance to make the Lakers. He wound up making a big splash with a guy by the name of Lonzo Ball, who was the big time, pick for the Lakers. And I know you guys know the story. So pretty much what my point is this. LeBron has ruined the Lakers' whole last 6-7 years of trying to put a team together, the draft way. And I thought, and when you look up at the end of the day, Julius Randle, all-star, D'Angelo Russell, all-star, Brandon Ingram, all-star. Lonzo has went off and got a set. He went off and got paid. Like he always knew he was going to be in the NBA. And the list goes on and on. Kyle Kuzma is doing an excellent job in Washington right now. So my thing is, why did you have to break all this up? What was the point of that? Like, what was the point of bringing AD if Brandon Ingram's getting the same amount of points that he does? You know what I mean? What's the point of bringing a guy like Westbrook if you're going to get the same type of production from a Lonzo Ball or a D'Angelo Russell? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it might not have been the greatest idea for the Lakers to invest in a long-term situation with LeBron James. Let's just keep it real now. I'm just going to be honest with you. Maybe he could have took this show to New York because they needed him more than the Lakers did at the end of the day. But the Lakers know what time it is. The Lakers don't play for, let's make it to the first round and feel good about ourselves. No, the Lakers in LA is ring or bust. And I know that's the mentality, and that's why everything had to be rushed so quickly. But now, as you can see, everything's falling apart. And I think that the season can be saved once people understand that they need to stay in their lane. It's that simple. Coaches need to coach, players need to play. It's that simple. The Lakers lost that game last night because they never had any intentions of winning it last night. The Bulls came in there fresh off of a big win over a Clipper team that hadn't lost a game all month, and they almost looked at the Lakers and laughed when they saw what they were doing last night. And I was watching the game, and pretty much they went ahead and took care of their business. They let the Lakers get a little close here and there, and then they just went ahead and stepped on their neck some more, and I felt like it was a big revenge game for guys that were pretty much overlooked or just thrown off to the side so people can be satisfied. So it is what it is at the end of the day. It's still very early in the season. As I said before, season for me really doesn't start until after Christmas. And that's when we really will see if this team is going to make any type of movement towards even being decent in the playoffs. You know what I mean? If you can make the playoffs. So at this point, so hey, it is what it is. And I hate to be like this as a big backer of the Lakers, but you know what? Enough is enough. And it is what it is. So with that, we'll be back with the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles Live. And when I get back, we talking MAC Tuesday night, and we talking about the pick 3 tonight. We talking about the 3 games going on in the NBA tonight as well, too. And then after that, talking tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show hosted by the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper. getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live, and I'm your host, the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper. So let's go ahead and jump into Mac at night, and it's a Mac Tuesday night for us as well. So pretty much our first game up is going to be Toledo versus Ohio. So Athens versus Toledo. So pretty much, let's go ahead and see what the numbers are here. We got a minus 275 on Toledo tonight as the favorite, and then you also have a red hot Ohio team coming in here plus 210 tonight, and a plus 7 right now on the spread as well too as the home dog. Now we have an over under of 56 tonight as well too, and these are the notes for tonight's game. Toledo is coming into the game 3-3 against the spread and straight up in the conference. Then they've went under in 4 out of their 6 conference games. Also, they're 2-0 on the road against the spread and straight up. And then they're 1-1 when it comes to over and under. So that means that each one of their games, it's a split. So there it goes. And this is a team that actually has lost their last 3 out of 5 after having a 3-2 start. So pretty much this team is now 5-5 after having a pretty good start to the season and a pretty good start to conference play as well too. Just kind of have fell apart here in the last 5 weeks or so. And then we have Ohio, who's also 3-3 straight up in the conference this year, but they're also have covered 5 out of their 6 games in conference this year as well too. They've also won 2 out of 3 games straight up at home, and they lost 2 out of 3. So they're 1-2 at home straight up. And then they have actually covered 2 out of 3 times at home. So they're 2-1 at home when it comes to the cover. And then when it comes to the over-under, they've went under in 2 out of their 3 games at home. Now, they've won their last 2 games in a row after a 1-7 start, and they've been able to cover literally in their last 5 out of 6 games as well, too, as I've already said to you guys. So should be pretty good for a team that did have some expectations to start the season, but they kind of fell apart kind of early in the season, and that's why things didn't go the way that it should have went. Now, we have Western Michigan at tonight. We have Western. So our next game up is going to be the Western Michigan game. And let me get to that font real quick. It's going to be Western Michigan and Eastern Michigan tonight. They're going to be facing off over at Eastern Michigan tonight. You have a Western Michigan team coming in here 6-4. Eastern Michigan 6-4 as well too. Both teams are 3-3 straight up in the conference play. And then when you also Eastern Michigan is 3-3 when it comes to against the spread as well. But Western Michigan's actually 1-4-1 against the spread. So they've been pretty bad this year when it comes to covering in conference. Now, when it comes to over-under, they've went over in 4 out of their 6 games. Now, and on the road, they're 1-1. And when it comes to the over-under, they've went under in both of those games as well, too. And this team is 2-3 after a 4-1 start. That includes a monster upset over Pitt, who's been doing their thing in the ACC all season. And then you have Eastern Michigan, they're 3. When it comes to over-under, it's a split 3-3 in the conference. And then at home, they actually have dropped 2 out of 3 against the spread and straight up. And then over under, they also went under in 2 out of their 3 games. And this team is 3-3 after a 3-1. This team is 2-3 after a 3-1. Is 3-3. I'm sorry, 3-3 after a 3-1 start. So yeah, they've been kind of struggling a little bit after getting off to a pretty good start in the month of September. So there it is with that. You got Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan going at it tonight. This should be another really good game, and we'll see how it shakes out. Now we move forward, and let's go ahead and talk about Bowling Green and Miami of Ohio. Bowling Green coming into this game, they are a plus 550 tonight. Then you have Miami of Ohio minus 700. You have yourself a 17-point spread tonight for the home team as well. And then you have an over-under that's not 110. The over-under is actually going to be 52. So I'll go ahead and switch that real quick, but it's going to be 52 and a half tonight. That's going to be the over for this game. So this one right here, when you look at the numbers, you got Bowling Green, who's 3-7 on the season. They're 1-5 straight up in conference, but they're 3-3 against the spread. They're also have went over the games have went over at 5 out of 6 times in conference play that they've been involved in. And then also they've dropped 2 out of 3 on the road straight up. But this is the thing that works out very well for Bowling Green tonight. They're 3-0 against the spread on the road in the conference as well too. But this is one thing that I've went ahead and put up as well for you guys too. They've only won 1 game in the last 6 weeks. So you have to put that into fruition as well too. So they could be a better covering team than they are a team actually winning the game tonight. But you see that 3-0 against the spread, you get a little excited about that. But when you see that how they performed last week, you'll tell yourself that I don't know about that. So it is what it is at the end of the day. So pretty much you have Miami of Ohio coming into this game. They've won 4 out of 6 straight up in conference. They are 3-3 against the spread. They're evenly split in all 6 games when it comes to over and under as well too. Now they're also a team that's very tough at home. They're 3-0 straight up at home in conference. Then they're 2-1 against the spread. And then they went over in 2 out of their 3 games. They started the season off 1-3 and have won 4 out of 6 since. So this team is playing some pretty good football, and they're gearing themselves up towards possibly stealing a MAC title as well too. So man, we just have to just keep paying it. We just got to keep our eyes open, and I think that we have ourselves some pretty good parity going on in the Mid-American Conference. So let's go ahead and jump into the NBA. And tonight we have 3 games in the association. And up first, we have ourselves, and I like to say NBA Tuesday night, and we have ourselves a game between possibly the best 2 teams in the NBA right now, conference for conference. You have a Warriors team that's coming into this game with 11 wins on the season. Let me triple check, make sure I'm all the way right. Yes, they are 11-2 on the season, while you had the Nets being 10-4 this year. Tonight, the Warriors are the slight dog, plus 135. Understandable, because they are the road team, and the Nets have played pretty good on the road this year. And then you also have the Nets are the home team, and they've been very good at home. I'm very sorry about that. And they're minus 160 today. And, they've been able to win these big games as well, too, against the top-tier teams in the NBA. But they did drop one against the Bucks. But other than that, they've been pretty good against everybody else. So the Warriors come into this game for the season against the spread 8-4-1 against the spread. When it comes to over-under, they've went under in 10 out of their 13 games this season. Now, for the month of November, the Warriors are 6-1 straight up. They're 5-1-1 against the spread. And also, they've went under in 4 out of their 7 games this month as well, too. Now, the Nets, they are 10-4 on the year. They're 7-7 against the spread on the season. When it comes down to over-unders, they're actually have went under in 9 out of their 13 games this year as well, too. So 9 out of their 14 games. I'm sorry about that. And so they're another team that strangely is going under a lot. The Warriors and Nets been known for the years to be teams that scored 120, 130 almost nightly. That's not the case anymore. Now, they are also have won 6 out of 7 here in the month of November as well, too. And then when against the spread, they've actually covered 4 out of their 7 games. And when it comes to the over-under, they've covered 4 out of their 7 games in that category as well, too. So all in all, they're 4-3 against the spread, 4-2-1 over-under when it comes to that stat right there. But this should be a really good game tonight. This is going to be a TNT game as well, too. So you guys make sure to tune in. You guys can hear the crew, Ernie and the boys, you know what I mean? Always the best basketball, probably the best crew in all of major sports, pretty much that's covering the sport. You know what I mean? Everybody wish that they could be like the TNT team that covers the NBA. So this should be fun. I know a lot of people will be excited about this one tonight as well too. So we move forward and we have the next game up that's going to be a TNT game because as you always know, it's going to be a doubleheader, and this will be the nightcap of that doubleheader, and this is going to be the 76ers, who are 8-6, at the Jazz, who are 8-5 right now. Now you have a 76ers team that's going through the struggle right now. This team started off the year. It started off 7-3 against the spread. They've dropped their last 4 in a row against the spread. So they are now 7-7. Now, when it comes to the over and under, this team has went under in 8 out of their 14 games. So literally almost half of their games have went under. So we have the 4-4 record against the spread and straight up in November. And then when it comes to the over and under, they started off the month with actually going under in their first 4 out of 5 games. The last 3 have went over. So go ahead and put that in your notes as well too, that games are going over, and you do have a 215.5 on over under tonight as well too. And then you have the Jazz 7-6 against the spread this month. They've actually went under in 9 of their 13 games this year. And in the month of November, they're 3-4 straight up, and they've dropped 5 out of 7 against the spread this month as well too. And then they're 3-4 over and under in November after starting off the season literally 8-1. And they've kind of I'm not going to say they fell apart, but they're not playing very well in this. They're not playing very well this month. It's just that simple, okay? And and a lot of these losses have came in the last few games as well too. And they've actually dropped 2 in a row at home too. So you have to go ahead and put that into your notes as well, that the Jazz are not a significant lock at home. They lost to a Pacers team that they were heavily favored against, and then they lost to a Miami team that they were heavily favored against as well too. But we understand the Miami loss because, Miami always does well when they go to Utah. So there it is. So with that, that's going to be the game tonight, and I have your choices for this game in a moment. So we move on, and let's go ahead and talk about the LA game tonight, and that's going to be the Clippers and the Spurs. The Spurs coming in here after playing the Lakers Sunday afternoon, got a day off, so they got to hang out, probably went to Universal Studios or something like that, or hung around Hollywood and Highland and looked at the sights, maybe plays a little bit of bowling, or just hang out around downtown LA. There's a lot to do, you know what I mean? But all in all, though, you have a Spurs team coming in here 4-9. Clippers are 8-5 on the season. Then you have also the Spurs who have covered in 7 out of their 13 games this season. They've wound up going over in 6 out of their 13 games this year as well too. And pretty much that's what I'm looking at with this team to see if they can, make a move tonight and everything like that to, do something pretty big here. So actually I got 7-5-1 here on the over under. But now when it comes down to the straight up in November, they are 2-5, but they're 3-4 against the spread this month. They're 4-2-1 when it comes to the over under. So and then the Clippers come in here, same record, 7-6 against the spread. And then they have then once again they have went under in 7 out of their 13 games this year. And then for this month, the Clippers have turned it on after struggling to start the season off. They were looking pretty bad to start the year off, to be honest with you too. And they've went ahead and won their last 7 out of 8 games here in the month of November. And they've also are 5-3 against the spread this month. And then they've went over in 5 out of the 8 games they played in November. So the Clippers and Spurs lock it up once again tonight. I think that this could possibly be one of those games where you just had a team come off of you just had the Clippers come off of a bad loss, and they're going to really be over aggressive, I feel, in this game. And I think the Spurs can take advantage of that here. So we'll see how this one goes and see how it shakes out. But I'm not saying the Spurs win the game, but I think they do keep it close tonight. So there it is. There it is. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take another quick commercial break. And when I get back, we'll go ahead and we'll talk those tickets. All right. So this is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles Live.
The Viget app, where social media meets sports betting. Get the latest line movements in all major sports. Track your daily bets, daily contests, the NFL over-under contest that pays out $10K in cash prizes. This is a cutting-edge app that helps betting be easy. Sign up with the reference code POPDBIC and you will be able to watch my daily show, The Primetime Angles, as a resource to building that bankroll. Viget is available in your Apple or Google Store on your iOS or Android. The social sports betting app, Viget.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
All right, so we are now here at the stretch drive of the show, and I know it's everybody's favorite part of the show because why? We get to talk about the money. We talking tickets, all right? So we have the Mac Tuesday Pick 3. That's going to be an 11-1 ticket tonight. I'm going to go all in. Yep, like somebody over at the poker table tonight. I'm going to go all in on Ohio tonight with the plus 220 to just go ahead and take care of their business, get their third win in a row as well, too. I know this team started off really bad this season, but people have to understand that this team was always built to be really good in the MAC this season. So they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're at home tonight. Everything is pointing towards a big Ohio win, in my opinion, tonight. Just like last week and the week before, this team goes ahead and takes care of their business, and they stay undefeated in the month of November. So I'm taking Ohio with the plus 220. Then we have Eastern Michigan and Western Michigan. Both of these teams have had a tendency of going over like big time in their games, okay? And Western Michigan, literally the whole season has been every game is went over. So this team can easily drop 40 some odd points in a game. And after last week, Eastern Michigan giving up 34 points to a lowly Ohio team. But Ohio's doing pretty good. They've scored, 69 points in the last 2 weeks. So, that's, you can kind of maybe draw a line through it a little bit. But I think all in all that Western Michigan has a much better defense, and I think that a much better offense. I'm so very sorry about that. And I think what happens here is that we get ourselves a shootout between these two old rivals right here as well. So the over 66 looks like an absolute score to me. I think that this happens tonight. I think that both teams get up into the 30s because it just seems like Western Michigan has just not been a really good defensive team the last few weeks. Come on, you gave 40 points to Akron. Akron's not good at all. So, hey, it is what it is at the end of the day. We're taking it over 66 with this spot. Then we have ourselves Miami of Ohio. The reason why I'm taking Miami of Ohio and not Bowling Green, because Bowling Green had my money last week, messed it up. And I think that the way that this game is shaping up right now, I think that everything entails to a big, big night for Miami of Ohio. I think that this is the type of game that they do need in front of their home crowd, and I think that they're going to be able to take care of their business tonight because they do play the right type of defense and everything. And I think that they actually have a big night scoring as well too, because it seems like Bowling Green is starting to take a few steps back after all that progress that they had a few weeks prior. So we'll see how it goes, see how it shakes out. But we got an 11-1 ticket tonight in the MAC, pick 3. Let's see how it goes. Single what you like. And then we have the Warriors as the NBA dog of the day, plus 130. I think that this is a good, sound, strong. It is not big value, but it's the right value. So plus 130 Warriors, got to do it. They're running with the best record in the league right now, so why not? And then you have the under 216. I have the under 216 76ers and Jazz. Yes, I know the Sixers have went over in their last 3 games, but once again, there is no Embiid here. That's why the spread is so long at 10.5 for them tonight. I think what happens here is that the 76ers don't even get to 100 tonight, and maybe the Jazz don't get to 100 tonight either. You guys have to understand the NBA has kind of went back into a middling situation where over and unders are not going to be or can be something that is can not get hit for a while. Because thing is, when you see games that are 99 and 98 at the finish, and then you have, say, games like last year where it used to be like 121 to 118 at the finish, it just shows that the NBA, the referees are calling the game a little bit tighter, and they're not, blowing the whistle on every single moment in the game. If you breathed on a guy, you just breathed on a guy. It's not a foul anymore. So, hey, it is what it is. But I like the under 216, 76ers Jazz. Let's see how it shakes out. And then I end the night with the Spurs plus 7.5. They always give the Clippers trouble, especially in the first game of the season when they play each other, especially at Staples too. So I'm going to go ahead and ride the wave, ride the trend, and I'm going to take the plus 7.5 on the Spurs tonight. And this will make the NBA Tuesday pick 3 a 7-1 ticket for us. Okay, so with that, that's going to be a wrap on today's show. I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in. Once again, I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, Mike will be available. He had a very serious family issue last week, so that's why we weren't able to get him on the show. So pretty much prayers are with Mike, and hopefully we can get Mike on the show. But family is family first, so it would be a blessing to get him on here, but it's no guarantee. But all in all, though, I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in. As I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. If you got a hunch, bet a bunch. The movement is moving, and this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production